friends, welcome to the Bright Side of Beauty podcast presented by Beyond Skin Aesthetics. I cannot believe that we are finally here. This project is like my brainchild that is finally coming to fruition. And if you can't tell with how excited I am, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be here. I cannot believe that we are finally here. So, a little bit about who am I? Who's your host? My name is Delaney. I am managing partner and skin expert at Beyond Skin Aesthetics in Columbus, Ohio. We are just by the airport, if you're familiar with the Columbus area. And we would love to meet you. We would love to see you in real life. But if not, we are now virtual friends. And the other thing to know about me is everybody's my friend, whether we have met online, in person, at a conference somewhere, or you are one of my patients. To me, you're one of my friends. So if I refer to you as my friend, please don't be offended. It's a form of endearment. It's because I love every single person I come into contact with, pretty much. It is probably to a fault almost, but something to know about me. And it's also a little bit, if you look back to who I am as a person and what got me to the place that I am today, you'll understand why I call everybody a friend. So let's rewind a little bit so you can get to know your host a little bit better here. I was born and raised here in Columbus, Ohio. Beyond Skin Aesthetics is actually a family-owned and operated business, as we like to say. It was founded by 4 co-founders, Kim, who is my mom, Katie, who's my fairy godmother. We'll get more into why she's called that in a little bit. And then our 2 physicians, Dr. Thomas McCartney and Dr. Mattia Malumba. And I have known all of them since I was 11, which is crazy to think of now that I am turning 28 this year, that we have known each other for that long. And they have truly seen me grow up and also have been such a pivotal part of who I've become as a woman operating in today's world. But we are family owned and operated. So although my mom and I are the only 2 that are actually related, currently working with us, we like to keep things really close knit. And that's something that when you come into our office, you're going to see that we operate as that family dynamic, and we keep our culture very, very, very close to our hearts for that exact reason. We want to make sure that as you're walking into our practice, you're feeling that love then transferred over to you. And I think the other thing is with the aesthetics industry, when you're thinking about the beauty industry, it's a lot of that touch and go. Do you need to have the boob job to even go into your appointment to ask if you can get a boob job? And that's not necessarily always the case. Most of us in the aesthetics industry actually are in it because we want to help the people that are walking through our doors feel more confident going into the world and feel like they can conquer anything that they set their minds to. And it's not about walking in the door and already obtaining that quote unquote beauty, but actually the journey that you're on as you go through it all. We believe that journey starts from the inside out, whether that be talking about your hormones and your wellness, or who you are as a person and kind of where your mental health is and where your heart is and where your mindset is as you're going into the world. So we're going to dive into a little bit of all of that. But again, if you know me, you know I have lots of squirrel moments. I'm going to jump all over the place. And so let's rewind all the way back to how I got here today in this podcast studio talking to you. So I was along for the journey with Beyond Skin Aesthetics from the very beginning. We opened in 2017, and I think you've actually got to go way back before that as well. I was raised by 2 amazing parents and actually 2 grandparents as well within the same home. I'm an only child. However, we always had lots of people when it comes to the fact that there were 5 of us living within one singular home and lots of animals running around. So there was always lots of energy going on. And truthfully, I was raised to believe that there was nothing that I could not do. If I set my mind to it, it was achievable. And it might take a lot of grit and determination and a lot of curveballs along the way to figure out how to get there. But if there was a goal to be set, I could achieve it. And sometimes it got to the point where it was actually a little bit surprising of like, oh, great, she's just set this goal. Let's hold on and see where this goes to. but it's worked out so far along the way. I was born and raised here in Columbus, Ohio, went to Bowling Green State University for my undergrad. Actually, my degree is in tourism, hospitality, and event management. I always had the dream of working corporately for Disney, and truthfully, I was on my way there. When I graduated from college, I was torn in between, was I going to work for the family business that I had started working for from its fruition of working more on like the social media side of things and the marketing, and on any of my breaks, my summer breaks, my winter breaks, I was helping work front desk and doing all the little things that may need done. So was I going to go into aesthetics, or was I going to move to Florida and chase that dream? And ultimately, my grandparents passed away, and let's be real, I was kind of running away from home in a little bit. There was so much going on. I decided I needed to go to Florida and chase that dream and find a little bit more of that independence. So I moved to Florida, and it was probably the best decision I could have made. I'm clearly back in Ohio now, but with that transition, I learned so much about myself and about the world, and I was able to work for Disney. So a lot of people are like, "Oh my gosh, you worked for Disney? What did you do?" And I have some friends in the industry that call me their Disney princess, which I absolutely love. Goals. I wish that I was a Disney princess when I worked for Disney. I was not, but I did work in concierge when I first moved down there. Well, actually, again, squirrel moment, we're going to backtrack a little bit. While I was in college, I did the Disney college program. That was the beginning of my Disney journey. And before that, when I was in 8th grade, I cheered in the Christmas Day parade. I was a cheerleader in high school. And I cheered in the Christmas Day parade at Disney. And somebody in the college program said, "You need to look into this and do this. You're the perfect person to do the Disney college program." So I went to college, did the Disney college program. I worked in merchandising at the Emporium, which is what I call the Walmart of Disney World, right there on Main Street, USA. And then I went back to school. Then had that kind of, what am I going to do with my life? Where am I going to go? What's the direction? So moved to Florida, worked concierge then at Port Orleans Riverside. I met so many dear friends, so many pivotal people in my career in general. A lot of people that took me under their wing and saw something in me that I didn't even necessarily see in myself. And those people pushed me to new, different places. And truthfully, I don't think I had a direction that I thought that I was going to go with Disney, other than I wanted to work corporately for Disney and eventually be the vice president of one of the parks or the CEO, or I don't know, but I was dreaming big in that sense. But I didn't know what those steps were going to be like. And a lot of those people that I met early on in my career with Disney directed me and saw things and said, "I think you'd be good for this role," or "I think you'd be really good for this role," or "You remind me of this person. They might have insight for you. You should talk to them," and helping me with those networking connections all the way through. And so my last role at Disney was as guest relations at Epcot, which was my very favorite park. I got very blessed with that placement. I truly believe that it was a God thing. I got placed there to meet the people that were there, but also the fact that the people that got me there knew that that was my favorite park and had friends within the park that were able to connect me and kind of get me there all together. So that was a beautiful journey. And I worked at guest relations at Epcot all the way until the day that the world shut down, thanks to the lovely pandemic that we all got flipped up on our heads for. So that's really ultimately what brought me home. But it wasn't instant. It was not the day that the world shut down. And that, I feel like, could be a whole episode in itself on how I got back to Ohio. But I'll speed this up a little bit. So in that journey, I actually stayed on employed with Disney for several months before I was let go. The week before I was going to be signing a new lease with my roommates, I ended up moving everything back into a storage unit, coming back to Ohio for what I thought was going to be a couple of weeks. We can see it was a little bit longer than a couple of weeks at this point. And then when I was let go, I thought, what better time than now to really lean into my aesthetics journey? I had been working with Beyond Skin on more of the back end of things, helping with social media, editing, and just any way that I could in between my busy work schedule with Disney and staying connected with everybody, staying in the know of what was going on in the aesthetics industry. And I always thought I would go into aesthetics. I just kind of thought it was going to be that midlife. Once I hit that goal with Disney, then I would fully focus on aesthetics and I would get my hands dirty in the room and finally get my licensing and all of that. So 2020 was kind of my excuse to put a pause on everything and go to school. So I enrolled at the Ohio State University Spa School, and that is where I really got my journey in aesthetics started inside of the treatment room. That's where my passion started to grow a little bit. I saw some of the good, bad, ugly, and beautiful of the aesthetics industry in 2020 as we were all trying to figure out where was the industry going to go to? How was it changing and flowing? That was right about the same time as GLP-1s were starting to make their introduction. About a year later, we saw that kind of hitting. So how is that going to affect the industry? How were these, peptides and wellness and the emphasis on wellness going to transition the beauty industry, and how did that all play together? And I was really in the middle of all of that as it was happening. I was able to see what was coming, what had been, and how we played into the middle of all that. I was able to see what the rest of the world was like. I mean, working for Disney, we joke and we say that I was within a Disney bubble and that you don't really see anything outside of that Disney bubble. But at the same time, you meet people from all over the world. And the people that I was working at Epcot were people that were international transfers from all over the world. They were here either with visas or as students, and I mean, they were incredible. They were here for 6-month stints, or some of them were here for 5 years in these different training programs with Disney. And so I was able to meet people from all over and all these different cultures. I was able to see the struggles that people were facing in the real world as they were running away from those problems to somewhere that they could escape for a little bit. And that's what I saw at Disney. So I was able to see more on that side of things, what people were struggling with and how I could help, what the community needed from an internal perspective to make them feel more confident on the outside. And so came back to Ohio, went to school, started full-time at Beyond Skin. And one of the very first things that my mom, Kim, and Katie said to me is, okay, tell us everything. You have this Disney training. We are going to peel and squeeze every little piece of knowledge that you have out of you. And we are going to apply that into now our business so that we can provide that next level customer service. When you think of customer service, you think of guest relations, you think of Disney, you think of that Disney level of expertise. I mean, it's right up there with like the Ritz-Carlton type concept for customer service. That is what we pulled out to give to you, our patients at Beyond Skin Aesthetics, and blended it in with the beauty industry. I think that that's honestly one of the coolest things that we probably could have done. It could have been a transfer of, okay, this is the life that you were living and this is the life that you're living now, but we didn't take it that way. We took that as a family core discussion of, you have this life experience, how can we use this to benefit ourselves, of course, but other people? How are we going to push this into the community and help our industry change to have a different kind of mindset, to break that stigma of being so closed off and superficial, because we know from the inside that it's not actually like that. But getting that message out to our patients and to our community and then to the rest of the industry and beyond, the aesthetics industry is so untapped when you think about who has actually experienced some of these services. And I think a lot of that has to do with, is it comfortable for somebody to call a practice on the phone? Is it comfortable for somebody to walk into a practice and say, hey, I'm not quite sure what's wrong with my face, but I'm feeling like I look tired all the time? That's not always comfortable. So how do we break that barrier? How do we move past that? We were able to really pull my life experiences and my training into our practice, as well as then the experiences of Kim and Katie, which at some point we will definitely get them on for an episode to talk about more of the foundation of Beyond Skin Aesthetics, because it's a really cool story that we could dive way further into from there. So real quick, as kind of a transition from this point, I would like to read you the definition of beauty, because I think that this is something that's important when you think about breaking that barrier and that stigma of the beauty industry. So, what is beauty? Beauty is a combination of qualities such as shape, color, or form that pleases the aesthetic senses, especially the sight. What I love about that is that it has nothing to do with other people as much as you and what you see as beautiful, how you feel about yourself, how you go into the world, how it's looking so much more internally than just the outer shell that you have. We think of beauty and we think of hair and we think of makeup and we think of the smile and do you have the shiny white teeth and all the things, but it's so much more than that. It's who you are as a person and how you are going into this world. And that is the core of the aesthetics industry, is how you can be more confident, how we can help you to be more confident. And I know from my many friends across the industry that is truly our heart as well, as we just want to pour into you as our patients and you as our friends and colleagues in the industry to really come together as a community to build this beautiful, picture-perfect life that is very hard to achieve in the sense that it doesn't actually exist. It's all within your mind of how you are perceiving your life. And so in that sense, it is achievable. It depends on what your mindset is. So with this podcast, again, it's my brainchild that's finally coming to fruition. I have so many friends from across the industry and beyond that are going to be joining us and giving us their insight on the industry and beyond and what is beauty to them. We are going to have a wonderful question for all of our guests each episode of what is beautiful to you. And that is so open to interpretation just based on the definition that I just read to you, my friends. And we're going to get deep with it. So we're going to be looking at that internal of, are your hormones all out of whack, or is your heart out of whack? And we need to do a little bit of a heart check. And we're going to be looking at more of the surface of, what should your skincare routine be? What's a good skincare routine based on your age and based on your lifestyle? And what are products that are major hits and major misses? And we're going to be talking with people that have that expertise from inside the industry, whether it be from these different skincare brands or different device companies. I've got some personal training friends, some hairstylist friends. I mean, we are going to be hitting everything from business development to personal development, communication skills. But most of it is going to go right back to how's your heart and how are you going into the world and how are you leaving the world a better place at the end of the day. And so that is our mission here with the Bright Side of Beauty podcast presented by Beyond Skin Aesthetics. I can't wait for you guys to hear more. And this is just the beginning. So I'll see you guys real soon.